The Long Drive has got to be one of my favorite games solely because of how simple it is. I have no idea why I like this game so much. It's fun to play, and that's the only reason I like it, because I like driving around in a car and watching as my car goes up and down on a rock. The amount of times I've crashed in this game and it's been funner than actually driving is hilarious. It's hilarious how many times I've crashed into a rock and I've found it funnier than actually driving the game. And that's not an insult either. Because making fun of like crashing into something is not something that you'd usually do in a car game. Usually you'd get frustrated. You'd get upset. Oh, now I have to stop and I have to repair the car. No, this game makes it funny. This game makes it funny by whenever you crash into something, your car will just not car. It will not do what a car should do. It will do what a car think the car should do. If that makes no sense, then perfect. I gotta say, this game, it's buggy, but you know, it's not exactly in its final state yet. Right now, as I'm recording this, well, not as I'm recording this, but it's actually gotten an update. Previously, you'd have to, if you wanted to do multiplayer in the game, you'd have to get on a separate version, you could call it a secret version at some points because most people probably wouldn't be able to find it. But it was quite buggy. But I find that with this new update, it's built into the new build, and it's ended up into an even better experience. But I'm not here to update on the game. My impression of it, when I first got this, and as I watch videos of it, as that's how I get introduced to most games, it was fun. I have 30 hours on this game, and half the time it's just me driving around on a motorcycle because I thought that'd be fun. The answer is yes, it was. Why? Because it's a motorcycle. Who doesn't find driving around on a motorcycle in the middle of the desert fun? And of course, with this new update came bug fixes, so if any time to give it a rating, now's the best time, and I'm going to tell you right now. Yeah, it's a very good game. Pretty good. Compared to what I've played recently with other games, it's quality. You know, it's reached the minimum. Is it bringing any points based on how it looks? I mean, it's probably getting negative points, but like, come on. The game doesn't really focus on, as I've seen so far, appearances. I find it focuses more on the simplicity of driving a car and absurdity of playing the game. Am I looking into it too much? Absolutely. Do I care? No. But there is one thing I do like about this game, and that is just messing around with friends. The amount of times I have, let's just say, shot someone, fallen off a telephone post, and no one's reacted boldly because I'll be back in a second is hilarious. Is that a random tangent? Yes. Does it matter? No. I do, however, think that this game is odd. It's definitely fun to play. It reminds me of many party games I used to play, but obviously without the party. It was just simple fun, and that's what it reminded me of all the other games that I've played. Very few games have got me to stay and play it for multiple hours at a time without the purpose of I have to keep playing this so I can progress. There is no progression to this game. You are playing it solely for fun, and I have played it for way too long to know that yes, I have had fun playing this game. I should not have been playing this for 30 hours. That is an entire day's worth of like gameplay. Why? Why did I play it for that long? Because it was fun. This game is just pure fun. Sure, most of the time you'll be sitting around, but like, eh. driving game. You drive about. I just find it fun because, I don't know, you're in a car, the car hits a rock, car bounces around real funnily. It's a fun game to play. I can guarantee, if you just want to drive a car around, then it's a great game. There's no consequences to driving the car around other than needing to find fuel. That's the only problem I can find, but even then, like, I'm sure you could find a mod or something if you really wanted to. I don't know who actually supports mods, but... This game has so many things in just the starter house that most people probably won't even find, which is hilarious. I'm not even gonna mention the fact that if you're just looking for a game to mess around in, this is perfect. It's just the perfect game to mess about in. In fact, I couldn't suggest anything better than this to mess around in. Especially since there's no consequences really of shooting out the coolant that is in your car, so that it constantly leaks out and that every single one of your friends, or lack thereof, can watch as there is a hole and it's just constantly leaking. I've done that once. I got angry at someone, so I shot a hole in the coolant and the engine. Needless to say, that session ended pretty quickly. But other than that, it's just a fun game. Again, I can just keep repeating myself here, but like, it's just a fun game. If I'm comparing this to another game I've reviewed, which is the only other game I've reviewed at this time of recording, Deepwoken. I have had more fun playing this game than Deepwoken. Maybe have I enjoyed the challenge of playing Deepwoken every once in a while? Yes. Am I gonna ever forget the struggles that I had to go through playing that game? No. Am I gonna go back to it? No. Never. But I will, however, just play this game for fun. This game, I've had more fun playing it than Deepwoken, or most games I've played. Which I've played a few games. Accounting for all the games I've played, I want to say, I don't know, a few hundred. Definitely at least 200, which is pretty small comparing to some other people's collections. But like, I know there's some people out there who don't play it so seriously. But I find this game just super fun. If you're just looking for something to mess around in, and I know it's not necessarily cheap either. Let me just double check, because I know not everybody wants to spend like $13 on a game, which is fair, especially for a game like this. Like, the long drive right now is, in Australian currency, where I live, is around $6. I don't know about everyone else, but for me that's cheap, considering that a bag of chips here is worth like $12. No kidding. I wish I was. But considering that this is only $6 in Australian currency, is pretty cheap. Depending on the conversion rate, of course. It's pretty cheap considering all that. You know, it's a cheap game, mostly, depending. It's just a fun game. And is surprisingly cheap. I thought it was like $12 last time I checked it, but like, I don't know. It's an incredibly fun game though. If you're just looking for something to mess around in, this game is got it. It's got it, alright. It's got the formula down. Out of all the games you want to play for fun, instead of just, you know, wasting your time, I'd suggest this. I like it. I like to go around and smash into objects at 100 kilometers per hour. 120, 140, 160. Nah. But it is pretty funny to crash into things at way too fast. At speeds that are probably too fast for any road. But thinking back now, I don't think I did waste my time. I've learnt nothing from this game, and I have taken nothing from this game other than pure enjoyment. It was entertaining, and it still is entertaining as I hop on with a few friends. Don't want to play it by yourself? Problem solved. The game's even buggier with multiplayer, which is funny because sometimes the bugs are the funniest part. Why? Because sometimes you need something a little bit exciting. I mean, if it was just a game about driving a car around, I can guarantee I wouldn't even be talking about this. Because I think it's all the absurdities of including the radio playing mostly nonsense most of the time. Sometimes nonsense, but mostly just random advertisement. Which I find is funny. Random advertisements, cannibals in the desert and everywhere else in every building. It all makes no sense, and that's what I like about it. There's no need for an explanation. It's just, hey, there's a bad guy. You can shoot them. Yippee. And that's what I really like about it. Is that... sorry. Is that it's just simple. There's no need for it to be overcomplicated. And I can't believe some other games overcomplicate fun as much as that. As much as anything else. Like, some things don't need to be that complicated, but, like, I understand that, you know, sometimes they're needed. I'm running out of things to talk about. I've run out of things to talk about the first 5 minutes. I'm trying to find things on the go, because I've said before, but I don't use scripts. I do find that this game is pretty weird when it comes to the modding of cars. Modding, really, with quotation marks, because I've seen one of my friends put, like, a race car engine into a little car and, like, a bus that is not supposed to go there, and we have ended up, like, smoking multiple times. Not even cigarettes, like, the bloody engine is just bloody... You'd think the engine is a bloody pack of cigarettes at some points, because that thing will just not stop pumping out smoke. It was pretty funny, though, how fast the bus would go and then collide into something. It was a van. My bad. It was a van. That's what it was. It was a minivan, and it was really funny. We put a seat in the back, and we just... Meow. There's so many experiences you can have in this game solely because it's randomly generated. This is randomly generated done right. You said the title. You said the title. Anyway, I think because it's randomly generated, it allows for all the experiences. Like, all the random stuff that you probably wouldn't find normally. Yeah, there's set locations. Like, there's certain buildings that, like, spawn in. And there's all that. There's cars, there's all that you need for a randomly generated. But if I had to do a comparison to randomly generated done wrong, it has to be We Happy Few. If you know about it, you know how poorly the randomly generated stuff was integrated, because while there was buildings, yes, you know, it was all randomly generated, certain spots made no sense story-wise. They were all certain, you put a story into a randomly generated game, that usually doesn't work out pretty well. I'm going to tell you right now, because if you're doing a story, you usually need fixed locations, unless you're doing sort of arrangement of things. That's where randomly generated is usually implemented, not in the environment, but in certain other aspects of the game. This includes the location of certain items, the buildings. Of course, there's a few buildings that can be randomly generated, but not key important buildings that are required in the story. Like, you can't have certain stuff like that. It ruins it. Because if you have key locations in different places, then it doesn't make sense anymore, does it? Like, another one done right is a game called Noita. It's a special game, that's for sure. But it has certain fixed areas in the game where in between the location to get there and the fixed areas, there is randomly generated areas. But there is set areas where you can find certain locations that don't change. Or there is certain, like, places and monuments that remain there. And that is how you do randomly generated correct. This is what the long drive is. It is randomly generated, and it is done in no better way than it is now. I cannot think of a better way that you could have done it. It is simple, even entirely. It is entirely randomly generated. It is randomly generated, done completely right. As in, nothing about the game should not be randomly generated. As in, there is no other fixed point other than the house that I know of. I've yet to see another fixed location other than the house. Everything else is up for bloody whatever. I know there's a certain bus stop maybe near the house that can appear, but that's about it. It is the true definition of randomized. As in, there is nothing that is not properly randomized other than the house, and that's it. It is randomness at its finest. I give this a good, 1 out of 10. I give it a good... I'm really thinking here. Give me a second. 7. I give it a good 7 out of 10. Solely because it's just a solid 7. Anyway. Later. Thanks for listening to my rant again. Or not. Hi.